Once your contracts are operational, it is very important to ensure that there's appropriate oversight of your contracts and what's going on with them to be able to, number one, monitor for any trends, to market your successes, to show your shared value to your employer partner, and to make sure that they remain successful long term. So this document has multiple tabs on it that I'm going to walk you through as a option, as a tool to help with that operational oversight. So as you'll see on the bottom here, there's two tabs for a patient tracker. There's patients who are discharged with their goals met and patients who are discharged without their goals met. Now, I've built in lists and some formulas into this. So I'm just going to do a demonstration here to show you. So if a patient comes in with an elbow injury, you'll know how much you're going to get paid for that. And that could automatically fill, but let's just say it's $1,800. And then you want to know how many times that patient was seen. Let's say 6. That's going to help calculate the revenue per visit. You made $300 per visit for this. Obviously, you want that number to be as high as reasonable, but the more visits, the less revenue per visit you're going to see. The patient reported outcome baseline. Now, there's a ton of outcome tools that can be used, and the numbers are different on all of those scales. So just an arbitrary number for the purpose of this is, let's say it was 10 at baseline and it improved to 15. So there's an improvement in 5 points there. You're going to know what that means when you know what tool you're using, and you can note that here if you want to. Elbow outcome tool. So as I add those in here, you're going to see down here, this is all auto calculated. You're going to see you got a 1 in your elbow volume. You've got $1,800 of revenue. And then you're also, this is totally down here. So let's put another example in here just so you can see how they get added. We had a knee, which is 2,200. They were only seen for 2 times. They went from 15 to 24. And now down here, we've got a 1 in an elbow, a 1 in a knee. We've got a total volume of 2 and total revenue of 4,000. Okay. I'm not sure why that one's not working. I can check on that. Now, similarly, for those patients where the goals were not met, we have a tracker for them. So same drop-down list, we can say this patient had a hip injury. We got paid $2,000. They were seen for 8 visits. They went from a 15 to a 15. And then there's an additional column on this that gives reasons for why we discharged them. Was the patient not compliant? Was there a red flag identified and we had to refer them? Was there no red flag, but we still referred them for some other reason? Were they making progress initially and then plateaued, or was there something else? As the reason. So we'll put plateau in progress for the purpose of this. Now, if I scroll down, you can see the same table here is being populated. You're still getting the grand totals down here. Okay. Now, for the goals not met, you might want to know for each body part, for those that did not meet their goal, what was the reason? So I've developed a pivot table here. And every time you go to this tab, you're going to want to refresh the data and make sure that that is updated. And then make sure you have all of your filters chosen here, which they should have been. So I apologize for that. So you're going to see that of the hip patients who did not meet their goal, so far, all of them, it's because of a plateau in progress. Now, if I go back here and I pick another hip patient, we made another $2,000. This time we saw them for 12 visits, and they did not improve because the patient was not compliant. And if we refresh the data here, you're now going to see of those hip patients, 1 was not compliant, 1 there was a plateau in progress. So this just gives you a deeper understanding of why patients weren't getting better. And if there's a pattern that you can see in, oh, well, all my hip patients ended up plateauing in progress. Well, maybe that's an opportunity to train staff, give them some additional education, or relook at what you're doing with those patients in the clinic. Now, some of the data from the first two tabs that I showed you will automatically get pulled into this kind of master tracker that you can use on an annual basis. So from a PT clinic standpoint, we're going to look at the bottom half here first. It's going to pull in from those first two tabs what your gross volumes were and what your gross revenue were. So it's just adding all of that up for you. Nothing needs to be done. Other things that are important to track are your staff satisfaction and your patient satisfaction. That can be done a variety of ways. Usually a survey of some sort is the most common, and then the results of that can be entered here. On the employer side of things, whether they share this or not, some of the things that we would recommend that they track to really see the value of these would be what their health benefit premium is, even baseline, and then year 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on after using these contracts, because the goal would be that their health benefit premium cost would stay the same or go down because there's less claims being processed for these musculoskeletal injuries through their health plan. Instead, they're using this direct benefit. They're not going through their claims, so it's not driving their cost up. They are paying for the care that they're receiving, but hopefully the $2,000 that they're paying for the hip is far less than what would be going through the claims process and driving their cost up, right? So keeping track of both what their premium cost is for their health benefit and then also how much they're paying your clinic. Ultimately, your gross revenue should be the same as what they're putting in this box for what they're paying you, right? Now, because this isn't a replacement for their healthcare plans, there are patients who may choose not to use this benefit, either lack of awareness, which we hope not if we do a successful implementation, or just choosing to go to a different clinic or choosing to follow the traditional path of healthcare. It would be good to know of the patients that follow the traditional path compared to the ones that use the direct to employer contract, what was the number of workdays lost per year in comparing those two groups? We're hoping it would be less because they would be seen quicker by the right provider at the right time for the right need. But that would be an interesting value metric and quality metric to track for the employer side of things. And then also their employee satisfaction. They'd likely do some sort of pulse check on that on an annual basis. So having that in here would be helpful as well. Now, on the employer side of things, it's probably most important that they have a baseline to know where they're starting at compared to you. For the PT side of things, it's always best practice to have a baseline, but the baseline for the gross volumes and revenue is 0. From a satisfaction standpoint, it is good to know, where were you before having these contracts compared to when they came in. So that's another thing that could be added here as an option or as an additional column if you wanted to list your baseline. And then the last tab on this sheet is related to just tracking the volumes of what you're doing to implement value-based care. So how many outreaches have you done? How many presentations to employers have you done? How many signed contracts do you have? And how many of those signed contracts are revenue producing contracts? And this is laid out to track over a 2-year period by quarter. It's optional, but it's just another tool that's there to use if you're interested in using it. So overall, this document is a great way to keep track of where you're at, both in the journey of starting this and then once you have started it, the ongoing success of it.